Hey, future counselor, to pass your addiction counselor exam, you must understand the stages of change. In today's video, we'll define each stage of change, discuss what happens in each stage, and complete multiple choice practice questions to help strengthen your understanding. By the end of this video, you'll be able to recognize the thoughts, behaviors, and statements clients commonly make in each stage, making it easier for you to identify the correct answers on your exam. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Letitia, a licensed professional counselor and licensed substance abuse treatment practitioner. I provide mental health and substance use education and trainings. I also help future counselors like you prepare for and pass your addiction counselor exams. So make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a weekly study video. So now that we're officially study partners, let's get started. By the end of this video, you should be able to define the stages of change, identify the key characteristics of each stage, recognize common client thoughts and behaviors, and match the appropriate counseling interventions to a client's stage of change. We'll also apply these concepts to practice questions so you can strengthen both your clinical reasoning and your test-taking skills. Let's get started by taking a closer look at the stages of change model. The stages of change model, also known as the trans-theoretical model, explains how people change behaviors over time. Rather than viewing change as a single event, this model recognizes that change occurs in stages. For counselors, understanding a client's stage of change helps us select the most appropriate intervention and meet the client where they are in the change process. The model was developed by psychologists James Prochaska and Carlo Di Clemente in the late 1970s while studying how people successfully change health-related behaviors. Today, it is widely used in addiction counseling, mental health treatment, health promotion, and behavior change interventions. Understanding this model is important because it frequently appears on addiction counselor certification and licensing exams. The stages of change model consists of 5 primary stages that describe a person's readiness to change a behavior. Some versions of the model also include relapse as a common part of the change process. The first stage is pre-contemplation. In this stage, the individual does not believe they have a problem or is not considering change. They may be resistant, defensive, or unaware of the consequences of their behavior. The second stage is contemplation. Here, the individual begins to recognize that a problem exists. They are thinking about changing, but may feel uncertain or ambivalent about taking action. The third stage is preparation. During this stage, the person has decided that change is necessary and begins making plans. They may gather information, seek support, or set goals for changing their behavior. The fourth stage is action. This is when the individual actively changes their behavior. They may begin treatment, attend support groups, stop using substances, or implement new coping strategies. And the fifth stage is maintenance. In this stage, the focus shifts from making the change to sustaining it. Individuals work to prevent relapse and continue practicing healthy behaviors over time. Finally, some models include relapse. Relapse is not viewed as failure. It's actually a part of the process. Instead, it is considered a common part of the recovery process and an opportunity to learn, reassess, and continue moving forward. As addiction counselors, one of our most important responsibilities is identifying a client's current stage and matching our interventions to their readiness for change. One of the most important concepts for the addiction counselor exam is knowing which intervention matches each stage of change. In the pre-contemplation stage, the counselor's role is to raise awareness. The client may not recognize a problem or see a need for change. Rather than arguing or confronting, counselors focus on building rapport, providing feedback, and increasing awareness of consequences. In the contemplation stage, the goal is to explore ambivalence. Clients often feel stuck between wanting to change and wanting to stay the same. Counselors help clients examine the pros and cons of their behaviors and strengthen their motivation for change. In the preparation stage, the focus shifts to developing a plan. The client has decided to make a change and is preparing to take action. Counselors help establish goals, identify supports, and create realistic steps towards that change. In the action stage, counselors support change. Clients are actively modifying their behaviors, attending treatment, practicing coping skills, or avoiding triggers. The counselor helps reinforce progress and address challenges that may arise. In the maintenance stage, the primary goal is relapse prevention. Clients work to maintain gains, strengthen recovery supports, and prepare for high risk situations that could lead to setbacks. A common exam question may ask you to identify the client's stage and then select the most appropriate intervention. Remember, the best intervention is the one that matches the client's readiness for change. Let's review the most important takeaways for your addiction counselor exam. Remember to match the stage to the intervention. You may be asked on your exam to identify a client's stage of change and then select the most appropriate counselor response. Also understand that change is a process, not a single event. Clients often move through stages gradually and may move back and forth between stages before achieving lasting change. Remember that ambivalence equals contemplation. If a client recognizes a problem but feels unsure about changing, they are most likely in the contemplation stage. Finally, understand that relapse is common. The stage of change model views relapse as part of the recovery process rather than a failure. Counselors should help clients learn from setbacks and continue moving forward towards recovery. Question 1. A client states, I know my drinking has caused problems at work and at home. Part of me wants to quit, but I'm not sure I'm ready to give it up completely. Which stage of change best describes this client? Pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, or action? The correct answer is B, contemplation. The client recognizes that alcohol use is causing problems and acknowledges the possibility of change. However, the client is still uncertain and has not committed to taking action. The phrase, part of me wants to quit, but I'm not sure I'm ready, demonstrates ambivalence, which is the hallmark of the contemplation stage. Let's review why the other answers are incorrect. A is incorrect because pre-contemplation is characterized by a lack of awareness or denial that a problem even exists. Clients in this stage often do not see a need for change and may minimize the impact of their behavior. C is incorrect because preparation involves a commitment to change and the development of a plan. D is incorrect because action occurs when the client is actively changing their behavior. Examples may include attending treatment, avoiding triggers, or stopping substance use altogether. When you see phrases like, maybe I should change, part of me wants to stop, I'm unsure, or I know it's a problem, but automatically think contemplation. The word ambivalence is one of the strongest clues that a client is in the contemplation stage. Which stage of change is characterized by a client making specific plans and preparing to take action in the near future? Pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, or maintenance? The correct answer is C, preparation. The preparation stage occurs when an individual decides that change is necessary and is beginning to develop a plan. People in this stage are often gathering resources, setting goals, seeking support, or preparing to start treatment. While they have not fully changed their behavior yet, they are actively getting ready to do so. A is incorrect because pre-contemplation occurs when an individual does not recognize a problem or is not considering change. B is incorrect because contemplation occurs when a person is thinking about changing but has not committed to taking action. And D is incorrect because maintenance occurs after meaningful change has already taken place. Which statement best demonstrates ambivalence during the change process? A, my substance use is not causing any problems and I don't see a reason to change. B, I've already stopped using and have been attending recovery meetings for several months. C, I know my substance use is creating problems, but I'm not sure I'm ready to give up. Or D, I've decided to quit and have already scheduled my intake appointment. The correct answer is C, I know my substance use is creating problems, but I'm not sure I'm ready to give it up. Ambivalence occurs when a person has mixed feelings about change. They can see reasons to change and reasons to stay the same at the same time. This internal conflict is a normal part of the change process and is most commonly associated with the contemplation stage. In this example, the person recognizes that substance use is causing problems, but they are not fully committed to making a change. This reflects the classic definition of ambivalence. A is incorrect because this statement reflects pre-contemplation, not ambivalence. The person does not recognize a problem and has no interest in changing. There is no evidence of an internal conflict. B is incorrect because this statement reflects action or maintenance. The individual has already made behavioral changes and appears committed to recovery. There is no indication of uncertainty or mixed feelings. And D is incorrect because this statement reflects preparation. The person has moved beyond uncertainty and has committed to a plan for change. Question 4. A counselor asks a client about substance use. The client responds, "My probation officer keeps telling me I need treatment. I know people are concerned, but I don't think my substance use is as serious as they make it seem." Which stage of change best describes this client? Pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, or action? The correct answer is A, pre-contemplation. The client acknowledges that other people are concerned, but does not personally believe there is a significant problem. The client minimizes the seriousness of the substance use and has not yet expressed a desire to change. A common misconception is that any awareness of other people's concerns means the client is in contemplation. However, the key question is whether the client personally recognizes a need for change. In this case, they do not. B is incorrect because contemplation requires some personal recognition that a problem exists. C is incorrect because preparation involves making actual plans to change. And D is incorrect because action occurs when an individual is actively changing their behavior. Question 5. A counselor is working with a client who states, "I know my substance use is causing problems, but I'm not sure I'm ready to quit yet." Which counselor response is most appropriate? Let's review how substance use has affected important areas of your life. Let's discuss the benefits and drawbacks of making a change right now. Let's develop strategies for maintaining long-term recovery for substances. Or let's identify treatment programs that can support your recovery goals. The correct answer is B. Let's discuss the benefits and drawbacks of making a change right now. The client is demonstrating ambivalence. They recognize that substance use is causing problems, but they remain uncertain about changing. This places the client in the contemplation stage of change. During contemplation, counselors help clients explore both sides of the issues. Discussing the benefits and drawbacks of change can help clients resolve ambivalence and increase motivation. A is incorrect because this intervention focuses on increasing awareness of consequences and is often helpful during pre-contemplation. C is incorrect because maintenance strategies are typically used after significant behavior change has occurred. This client has not yet committed to change, making this intervention premature. And D is incorrect because this intervention is more appropriate for the preparation stage when a client has decided to change and is beginning to make plans. A counselor is working with a client in the contemplation stage of change. Which intervention is most appropriate? Develop a detailed relapse prevention plan, explore the pros and cons of substance use, reinforce strategies for maintaining sobriety, or assist with carrying out a behavior change plan. The correct answer is B, explore the pros and cons of substance use. B is correct because clients in contemplation stage are experiencing ambivalence. Exploring the benefits and costs of substance use helps increase awareness and resolve uncertainty about change. A is incorrect because relapse prevention planning is typically used during the action or maintenance stages after the client has already begun making changes. C is incorrect because maintenance interventions focus on preventing relapse and sustaining long-term behavior changes. The client has not yet made a change. And D is incorrect because implementing a change plan is appropriate during the action stage when the client is actively changing their behavior. Question 8. After 6 months of continuous sobriety, a client reports facing a major stressor, the loss of their job, and states they feel dangerously close to relapsing. According to the trans-theoretical model, the client's current situation requires a focus on which component? Increasing awareness of the consequences of substance use, exploring ambivalence about changing behavior, strengthening relapse prevention and coping strategies, or developing a plan to begin behavior change. The correct answer is C, strengthening relapse prevention and coping strategies. C is correct because the client is in the maintenance stage, where the primary goal is sustaining behavior change and preventing relapse. Major life stressors can increase relapse risk, making coping skills and relapse prevention planning essential. A is incorrect because this intervention is most appropriate during the pre-contemplation stage when the client may not fully recognize the impact of their substance use. B is incorrect because exploring ambivalence is a key intervention during the contemplation stage. This client has already maintained sobriety for 6 months and is beyond contemplating change. And D is incorrect because developing a change plan is associated with the preparation stage before behavior change has begun. Question 9. A counselor is working with a client in the pre-contemplation stage who is unwilling to discuss their substance use. Which intervention is most appropriate and least likely to increase resistance? Confront the client about the severity of the problem and insist on immediate change. Explore the client's goals and provide non-judgmental feedback when appropriate. Develop a detailed action plan for reducing substance use immediately. Or require the client to identify barriers to maintaining sobriety. The correct answer is B. Explore the client's goals and provide non-judgmental feedback when appropriate. B is correct because in pre-contemplation, the counselor's role is to build rapport, raise awareness, and encourage self-reflection without arguing or pressuring the client to change. A is incorrect because direct confrontation often increases defensiveness and resistance, especially when the client does not yet recognize a problem. C is incorrect because action planning is more appropriate for clients in the preparation or action stages who have already expressed a willingness to change. And D is incorrect because the maintenance stage, clients work on sustaining change and preventing relapse. This client has not yet acknowledged a need for change. Question 10. A counselor using motivational interviewing is working with a client in the contemplation stage of change. Which counselor response is most consistent with MI principles? You need to decide today whether you are going to quit using substances. What are some things you enjoy using, and what are some things that concern you about it? Since you know substance use is harmful, let's create a treatment schedule immediately. Or, your continued substance use shows that you are not serious about recovery. The correct answer is B. What are some things you enjoy about using, and what are some things that concern you about it? Motivational interviewing is designed to explore ambivalence and elicit the client's own reasons for change. This open-ended question encourages self-exploration and aligns with the contemplation stage. A is incorrect because this response pressures the client to make a decision before they are ready and does not support autonomy, a core principle of motivational interviewing. C is incorrect because treatment planning is more appropriate during the preparation or action stages after the client has committed to change. And D is incorrect because this judgmental statement is inconsistent with motivational interviewing. Motivational interviewing is more about collaborative, empathetic approaches and is likely to increase resistance if you use judgmental responses. Question 11. According to the stages of change model, why is addiction often difficult to overcome? A. Most clients lack the intelligence needed to understand recovery concepts. B. Behavior change is a gradual process that often includes ambivalence and setbacks. C. Lasting recovery occurs only after a person experiences severe consequences. Or D. Substance use disorders can be resolved once motivation reaches a high enough level. The correct answer is B. Behavior change is a gradual process that often includes ambivalence and setbacks. B is correct because the model recognizes that change is rarely linear. Clients may move back and forth between stages, experience ambivalence, and encounter relapse before achieving lasting change. A is incorrect because the stage of change model does not attribute addiction to intelligence. People may understand the risk of substance use and still struggle with behavior change. C is incorrect because while consequences can increase motivation, the model does not suggest that severe consequences are required for change to occur. And D is incorrect because motivation is important, but the model emphasizes that change involves a process of movement through stages rather than a single moment of motivation. Question 12. A client successfully completes treatment, maintains sobriety for 8 months, then returns to substance use following a stressful life event. According to the stages of change model, which statement best reflects the counselor's understanding of this situation? A. The client failed treatment because recovery should occur without setbacks. B. The client must return to the pre-contemplation stage before change can occur again. C. The client's relapse indicates a lack of motivation to maintain recovery efforts. Or D. The client may re-enter the change process and use the experience to strengthen recovery. The correct answer is D. The client may re-enter the change process and use the experience to strengthen recovery. D is correct because the model views relapse as a potential learning opportunity. Clients can gain insight from setbacks and continue progressing through the stages of change. A is incorrect because the stages of change model recognizes that relapse can occur and does not define it as treatment failure. B is incorrect because clients do not necessarily return to the beginning of the model after relapse. They may re-enter at different stages depending on their insight and motivation. And C is incorrect because relapse can occur even among highly motivated individuals. Many factors, including stress, triggers, and coping deficits, can contribute to relapse. Question 13. A client who maintains sobriety for 4 months reports using alcohol during a weekend vacation. The client states, I made a mistake, but I want to get back on track before this becomes a pattern. According to the stages of change model, which interpretation is most accurate? A. The client has returned permanently to active addiction and must restart recovery. B. The client's motivation for change was insufficient to support long-term recovery. C. The client is experiencing a relapse and can use the event to strengthen future recovery efforts. Or D. The client has moved into the pre-contemplation stage because substance use has resumed. The correct answer is C. The client is experiencing a relapse and can use the event to strengthen future recovery efforts. C is correct because the stages of change model views relapse as a potential learning opportunity. The client's desire to regain stability suggests continued engagement in the recovery process. A is incorrect because a single episode of substance use does not necessarily mean the client has abandoned recovery or returned permanently to active addiction. B is incorrect because relapse can occur even when motivation is strong. Recovery is influenced by many factors beyond motivation alone. And D is incorrect because the client continues to recognize the problem and expresses a desire to change, which is inconsistent with the pre-contemplation stage. Question 14. A client recently stopped using substances, has begun attending support meetings, and is actively practicing new coping skills. According to the stages of change model, which counselor intervention is most appropriate at this time? A. Explore whether the client believes substance use is a problem. B. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of changing behavior. C. Support implementation of coping strategies and reinforce progress. Or D. Focus primarily on preventing relapse after long-term recovery. The correct answer is C. Support implementation of coping strategies and reinforce progress. C is correct because clients in the action stage are actively changing behaviors. The counselor's role is to encourage progress, strengthen new skills, address barriers, and support continued change efforts. A is incorrect because the intervention is most appropriate during the pre-contemplation stage when awareness of the problem is limited. B is incorrect because examining the pros and cons is commonly used during the contemplation stage to address ambivalence. And D is incorrect because relapse prevention is important throughout recovery, but is most strongly associated with the maintenance stage after sustained behavior change. Question 15. A client is referred for substance use counseling after receiving a DUI. During the assessment, the client states, "Everyone drinks like I do. The court is overreacting, and I don't think I need treatment." According to the stages of change model, which stage is the client most likely in? A. Contemplation. B. Preparation. C. Action. Or D. Pre-contemplation. The correct answer is D. Pre-contemplation. D is correct because pre-contemplation is characterized by denial or lack of recognition that substance use is a problem. The client blames others and does not see a need for treatment. A is incorrect because clients in contemplation recognize that a problem may exist and experience ambivalence about changing. This client does not acknowledge a problem. B is incorrect because preparation involves intending to change and beginning to make plans. The client has not expressed a desire to change. And C is incorrect because the action stage involves actively modifying the behavior. There is no evidence that the client is attempting to change. Thank you for supporting this learning community. Make sure you are subscribed so you never miss a weekly study video. Also, like the video and share it to promote substance use education.